right, and welcome back at On DeFi. I'm Amadeo Brands, and on today's show, we're going to talk with people that worked for the Curve decentralized autonomous organization. What happened is that Curve, which is a decentralized organization, put out a grant proposal, and then some very smart people from the Curve community responded, added value, and basically got rewarded for their work. So in today's interview, we're going to dive very deep into a very complex concept called a parameter research, which basically means that a group of outside researchers applied for a grant at Curve to research what is the optimal parameter for Curve to set in order to get the highest return for the liquidity pool providers and get in the most volume and give the best prices to its users. So this research is very important for the Curve decentralized autonomous organization, and it showcases that everybody from any walks of life, any research inflows can contribute to decentralized organizations. It's very, very cool. And today, and which you will also hear in the interview, we have two PhDs that we will be interviewing. So if you're also a smart PhD, if you're still a student, or if you're maybe doing your master thesis, bachelor thesis, whatever, you can always apply for these grants, and there is a very simple process of doing so. In the links below, before the description, you will see a link to the news.curve.fi, where you can see community grants. If you go to this link, you will read a blog post where you can basically see the way how you need to apply. At Curve, in this form, there is a Google type form which you can fill in. And then you can let us know what you want to do, what you want to add, what research topics do you want to perform. The grants will range between a price of $1,000 to $150,000 for the research or extra cool stuff you want to add. This also means that if you're another project, if you're a DeFi project, if you have any cool ideas, just go to news.curve.fi/community grants, community.grants. The link is down below. And go to the type form, fill it in, and we will review all your work that you send in. We will review all your ideas, and together we can make Curve even cooler and even better. So again, have fun watching this interview about Curve, about the parameter research, and also if you have any cool ideas or any cool additions to Curve, please let us know, and we will review your grant application, and we will always reply. We'll always come back to you if you apply, and we want to hear from you, and we want to increase our decentralized organizational power together with you, because as a collective intelligence we can actually defeat the evil banks or the evil corporations that we're fighting against. All right, have fun watching the interview, guys, and I see you in the next video. Thank you very much, and don't forget to apply. All right, guys, and welcome back at this special interview at On DeFi with the parameter research team from Cognitive Atom that did a research grant for the Curve decentralized autonomous organization. So today we are talking together. We're talking with John Plass and Karthik. And John Plass is a PhD in psychology, brain behavior, and cognitive programmer from the Northwest University of Everton. And Karthik is working towards a PhD in psychology and scientific computing from the University of Michigan. Together they run a consultancy firm called Cognitive Atom. And we worked like as a DAO, as a decentralized collective intelligence. We worked together on at the Curve decentralized organization, and you helped the Curve DAO with your research on finding the best parameters to adjust the Curve DAO and the fee structures in this algorithm. So it's very interesting. So guys, like everybody that's watching, all the links to find more about Cognitive Adam or about John and Karthik will be in the links below. Let's get started. We're going to dive deep in this interview. We're going to get a better understanding on what research they exactly delivered, and that's what we're going to discuss. But first, I want to ask John a question before we start the introduction. How do you see brain behavior and DeFi connected? It's such an interesting background you guys have. How do you see that connection?
There really are a number of connections, but at least for us, in terms of our analysis here, the one major connection is just that a lot of the research we do in neuroscience, where we're looking at electrical activity in the brain, the data structure is actually very similar to just looking at price charts. You just have a ticker with fixed intervals, and then you have a number recorded over that time series. So in a lot of ways, we can apply some of the same statistical techniques, some of the same algorithms to brain science data, especially from EEG or electrical recordings, to price charts or the balances in a curve pool and things like that. Yeah, I mean, for us, that allows us to kind of transfer some of that knowledge over to this space.
Wow, that's super interesting. That was a very interesting opening question. And yeah, maybe tell a little bit about yourself, John and Karthik. I'm very curious to get to know you a little bit better. So what is your background and what attracted you to DeFi and to Curve?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. My background has basically almost always been in academics, doing academic research, and my PhD is in cognitive neuroscience, and that's what I know Karthik from. We work together in the same lab, doing research on perceptual processing. And in that lab, we did some cool stuff where we would work with patients who had epilepsy or tumors, and in the course of their surgery, they would have electrodes implanted directly into their brain. And we would ask them to do some simple tasks or watch videos, listen to sounds, and analyze the electrical activity that we observed there. And a lot of Karthik's expertise is in machine learning and trying to decode from these brain waves what exactly is going on in the brain. But also while I was in grad school studying this stuff, I was also trading Bitcoin pretty much the whole time. And, for me, I have to admit, I remember when Ethereum came out and read the white paper and stuff, and I thought that it was all marketing, that it would be impossible to ever build this stuff on chain. And recently, someone, towards the end of last year, someone told me they were getting this incredible yield off of in crypto, and I thought, that sounds like a scam. That can't be possible. So I went and looked into it, and I thought, oh my God, the dream is here. Like they really built a financial system on top of Ethereum. And I was instantly hooked. And so I started looking around at different projects, trying to figure out what was going on. And I don't know, for some reason the Curve white paper spoke to me, I have to say. I read it and I thought, the way it was written, I was like, I can tell this person has a good handle on math. Also, I was able to infer just by the way he talked about math. Before I knew it, I could tell he was a physicist.
Nice.
I thought, okay, this looks pretty good. And I had the sense that I thought I wanted to invest in what I thought was a good team. I thought that everything was going to be moving quickly, and whatever current products were available from anyone, that they would that wouldn't really matter. What would really matter is how good the team is moving forward. So I got involved talking on the Curve Discord. I asked a bunch of questions, and there I found that everyone was just super helpful. Basically, like one thing that's unique about Curve is that the moderators, like Kendrick Lama, and also back then more Charlie, but Charlie's been working under the hood, I think, more now. Were so knowledgeable and helpful. I thought, what, I think this seems like a good team and a good investment. So that's kind of how I got involved with Curve. And at the same time, Karthik and I were trying to come up with plans what we would do to kind of move out of academia, how we could make an income. And that's where kind of Cognitive Adam was involved. And I pitched to him, well, maybe we should try and work for these guys, Like I was already invested in Curve, and I thought when I saw the grant thing, I thought, yeah, maybe let's do this.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's been fun so far. I mean, I can't believe it. Curve itself has. I mean, the whole space has advanced a lot, but Curve itself has advanced tremendously since then, and it's only been a few months.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's also really, I think, one of the more efficient decentralized organizations where there's not really specific roles or a boss or something like that, or Michael or Julian or all the other key figures. They're just all involved also more as community members, and it's really amazing. It's really amazing. Yeah, thank you, John. That's an amazing background, and I'm very happy that you found the Curve Grants program and delivered this amazing research. What about you, Karthik? What attracted you to DeFi or Curve, or how did you get involved in this?
Okay, so I have been working multiple jobs, actually, like different types of jobs. I started as a machine learning researcher for medical imaging, so identifying cancerous cells from mammograms. That was my first job. I didn't like it, and then I joined a consulting firm. I worked for Deloitte for a few years, and I didn't like it. And then I joined academia, and then that's where I met John, and we started realizing academia is probably not for us, so I need to find something different. And so by that time, I realized that I'm not going to like anything probably, so start my own gig. And so started a consulting firm, and one of the first projects was for a crypto organization, actually a crypto trading platform, where we helped this trading firm identify spoof trades. And that is the first time where I got properly introduced to crypto. I had been dabbling around, just playing around, losing money on it till then. But that was the first time where I actually realized, okay, this is probably something that could be profitable, and that was like kind of a formal introduction to what can be done in this space. So it got me interested, and then John mentioned about Curve, and then I started reading about it, and then I realized there is a lot of potential for it. Especially at that point of time, I was more interested in what are the financial products that we could build based on a decentralized platform, and especially with respect to access in countries where financial products are more difficult. Like, for example, in India, the access to a lot of financial products like insurance is still actually restricted to the elite population. So I think, like, for those kind of things, something like decentralized finance is really good, like where you can get access to these products without any restrictions. So that's kind of what got me really interested. And John brought up the Curve grant that you guys had, and that's it. I was hooked then on.
That's both amazing backgrounds, and I think it's very similar how most people got involved. But it's also very interesting to see that we get this massive brain drain from all these universities, and especially superstars like yourself getting involved in DeFi. It's what moves the space forward, I would say. And like a curve in itself is like it's an automated market maker. I think everybody is watching this interview and understands what Curve is. It's different from other market makers where it's more focused on stable coins, and it has a specific curve, and that's why also the name. That specific curve where when you swap a more volatile assets, where maybe Uniswap for automated market maker makes more sense, they would sprung more out. Also Uniswap, V3 says they're focusing also more on stable coins, although I think Curve is still more, till this time more efficient, I would say. And it differs from Uniswap or Bank or Paraswap or OneInch, where it really focuses on stable coins. More to say, like, how do you see Curve different from other automated market maker protocols, or do you see any how do you see Curve in the market landscape?
Yeah, so the main difference with Curve, and what really attracted me to it is this stable swap bonding curve. So for just about every other automated market maker out there, they're using a algorithm based off of the geometric mean. So this is the classic x times y equals k kind of thing. The issue with that for stable coins is that essentially it's going to it causes too much slippage. It's unnecessary slippage when the trading rate between the two assets is almost always going to be around 1. Of course, there's always going to be some noise, some variability in the prices of the different assets, but there's no need really to have your liquidity spread out so far away from the 1-to-1 ratio. So essentially, what the stable swap approach allows you to do is you can concentrate your liquidity around the 1-to-1 trading ratio, and you can think of that as making a leveraged bet on the idea that the two coins will trade at approximately at parity. And the A parameter or amplitude parameter just allows you to adjust how strong of a leveraged bet you're making on this parity. So when you increase when you increase the amplitude parameter, you're allocating more capital near the 1-to-1 trading rate.
Yes.
And at the same time, you can decrease the A parameter if you think, for example, that the peg is not that well held by some stable coin. You could decrease the A parameter to reflect your concern about that volatility, basically. So that's the one unique factor about Curve, and probably at its core, the most kind of unique factor. But there's also other things that I think don't get as much airtime that are actually also great advantages of Curve. So one thing is that under the hood, everything is wrapped into a different LP token, and part of that is that you can have them wrapped into being interest-bearing tokens. So that means that you can have, for example, in the compound pools or Aave pools, you can be collecting interest from lending at the same time as you're collecting interest from trading. So that's something that I'm actually not sure if anyone else has something like that built into their protocol. I see it as a huge advantage. One, just because you have two ways in which you're earning money off of that off of those coins. They're always being capital efficient. They're always earning money in one way or another. But the other thing, and this is something that also attracted me to Curve in the first place, is that Curve has emphasized building integrations into basically every other protocol that it can. And so that means that you can enjoy essentially these network effects, I think, of just as DeFi grows bigger, as it grows more complex, Curve is kind of a growing spider web that's sticking its finger into everything. I think that gives it a strong case for being almost like a base protocol, almost like a base level utility in DeFi.
Yeah, that's that is indeed very interesting, and it might be a bit hard for people to understand because like you're talking the significance of the A parameter in the Curve formula. I think you pulled it apart quite nicely in your research and in the code that you released, and that's found on the Curve forum, which links below, so you can find more information on this. And why did you specifically want to do research? You were fascinated by the elegancy of it, or the way that it's set up, or what was the motivation when you saw this that you wanted to dive deeper into it? And how did you How do you? Why did you want to research it? Yeah, that's the basic question. Yeah.
I think we were actually attracted by the elegance of the solution. The math is very nice, and I'll tell you, I tried to make something better multiple times, and just couldn't. So I thought, okay, this must be pretty good.
Yeah.
It also, I have to say, a big advantage is the code is very clear. Also, me being someone who just I know Python and MATLAB and a few other things, but I'd never used Viper before, but I could read the code easily and read through it. And I thought, oh, this makes sense. And this is pretty clever. I also think that there's a trade-off, I think, in terms of tunable parameters, right? Like, so they could have written Curve in a way where there could be a lot, 10 or 20 tweakable parameters. You could have something very complex, but it would be overkill. Or you can have it like most other market makers, the only tunable parameter is going to be the fee. I thought it's a good trade-off that you could have just this one parameter that's very expressive. Basically, when you shift that parameter, you're literally changing the shape of the bonding curve. So I thought that was good. Like, it could be summarized down to just one parameter, and you can adjust that one parameter based off of your beliefs about the market, basically. And it also means that the DAO is actually meaningful, because the DAO can vote on this parameter. Like a lot of other DAOs, their control of the protocol is pretty indirect. They'll vote on something which is what I think of as kind of like a word vote. Someone will write up an essay or whatever, and then we vote, do we want to do that or not? And then the team is supposed to implement that. Of course, the team may not implement that. I mean, that's a question sometimes. But in this case, it's cool because you're directly voting on the parameter. So like, you can, based on your intuition, decide, do I think it makes sense to pump up the leverage on this pool or not, But of course, I mean, I guess getting into what motivated us to want to research this was, we had an intuition for what the A parameter did. It essentially makes the bonding curve wider, but we didn't have a clear quantitative sense of, given, if I look at the chart, what A should I use? I don't know. And I thought, even as just an investor, I wanted to know that, have a clear sense of that. And I also had a sense that probably you could increase the returns quite a lot if you tweak these just right. And so I'm hoping that plays out.
Yeah, that's very. And how would you define the optimal value A?
I think when we started this, we naively thought that you could find an optimal A, but it turns out that there's not a few different factors that are trade-offs. So what we tried to do was to create some good intuitive metrics that capture these trade-offs of changing the A parameter. So I think the easiest thing to consider is just pick the A parameter that maximizes the returns. What's the one that's just going to make the most money? But you also have to consider that there's some trade-offs involved. When you're increasing the A parameter, you are making a stronger leverage bet on the idea that there will be parity between the two coins. And it may be that the coin can depeg, or it could have a lot of volatility, in which case you really might not want to raise it too high. And so I think, to me, the number one thing you want to look at is, how does raising the A parameter shift the balance of the assets in the pool? So I think the most intuitive way of thinking of the A parameter is, like we were saying before, making a more concentrated bet, concentrating more liquidity on the 1-to-1 price ratio. But it also implies that as you raise the A parameter, you basically have more tolerance for imbalance in the pool. So it means that when you have a low A parameter, it's always going to be targeting something near about 50-50. If you have two coins in the pool, it's going to be targeting that balance. As you raise the A parameter, the pool allows the ratio of your holdings of the different coins to be more loose without changing the price as much. So one trade-off is going to be, if you increase the A parameter too much, you could end up with just 1% of USDC and 99% DAI or whatever. And one thing that I felt, I don't know how well we can capture in the model is, well, how bad is that? So to think about, well, what are the downsides of that? So the first downside is that the price is more likely to get stuck off peg. If you look at the stable swap invariant, you can see that it's essentially flat around the middle, and then it kind of has like this, and then it'll have sharp curves up here. If you get stuck in these sharp portions I call the elbows, you end up being in an area with high slippage. And we don't want that. We obviously want to have lower slippage so that the price is more stable. So that's one risk. Another risk is just that, well, what if you completely dry out of one of the coins? Then your pool is useless. No one, and as you approach being more dried out of one coin, that means you're only allowing trades in one direction. And I think the final potential risk is just that, well, what if an LP wants to withdraw in a particular currency? They need one particular currency, but the pool is completely imbalanced. They'll be in a less good position. They have fewer options in terms of what currency they can withdraw in. So I think, to me, the big trade-offs in terms of tuning the amplitude parameter are basically, you look at what's the most returns you can get while still maintaining a acceptable level of balance across the currencies.
Exactly. And I think what you said yourself as well, like the DAO really influenced the weight of the reward, so that increases volume and again optimizes the way the metric at which you can influence the A parameter as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The DAO can just directly vote on it, and part of our goal here is to just make it so people can make an informed decision.
Yeah. And I think in your research, you also said that even the fees could even go lower to attract more volume and then actually to have more returns for the DAO even.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was something I was surprised by. I did not expect that. Neither of us expected that at all. But it looked like in our simulations, at least for a pool like 3Pool, if you lowered the fee from 0.04 to 0.03, it would attract sufficiently more trading volume that it would actually increase the returns. So right now they're doing an experiment in the Polygon pool to see if that really is the case.
Nice. That's quite interesting. And even if you lower or make the fee, if you make the fee lower, there is more returns for the LP providers. That's very interesting. So on Polygon, I was not aware of that. So on Polygon, basically your research is now actively implemented already. That's pretty cool and very fast as well. So that's nice. How did you build the simulation of the pool, and where did you see any limitations? What would you want to do maybe? Where would you
okay, so the way that we do it is we take a price feed. We get that from the Nomics API. They have pretty good data down to pretty fine temporal resolution. So we're using, when we first did it, we were doing every 5 minutes data, but now we've brought it down to every 30 minutes just to make the simulation faster, and we found that the results are about the same. So what we do is we just step along each time point and build a little code for someone to do optimal arbitrage, basically. So optimal arbitrage is basically the code compares the external price, external market price, to what the effective price is in the curve pool, and it computes the optimal trade, which would drive the curve pool price to the external market price. So essentially, that's kind of modeling someone who's just trying to do arbitrage. They could buy a coin for cheaper elsewhere and then sell it to the curve pool, and we're basically modeling someone who behaves that way. And so, actually, if you think about it, that's actually the worst case scenario for the curve pool. worst case scenario is that people are just arbitraging against it, so they're extracting value from these trades. But you're not getting any fees from people who are doing random trades just out of convenience. Just say they have USDC and they want to trade for USDT just because, I don't know, they can get a good deal for some pair against USDT. That is not incorporated into the simulation because we can't really imagine what people would do, why they would do that, what their strategies would be. So this is almost like looking at the lowest common denominator, just assuming that people are just trading purely strategically. What will the returns look like? So that means that in general, our results are going to underestimate the returns. So that's why when I look at the plot of like the annualized returns, for example, I don't really look at the actual number, the absolute value that we see on the y-axis, because it's really going to be higher than that. But it's important to look at basically the shape of that curve and find which one's going to be the highest value for which parameter. Yeah, there we go. So in the upper left there.
Yeah. So here in the upper left, yes. Yeah. The amplitude.
So you can see. Yeah. So you can see that the annualized returns on the y-axis, it really goes up to only about 0.6 or 0.7%. But in reality, the returns right now on free pool are about maybe 3%. And they've been, since it was ramped up to a parameter of 2000 based off these results, it's pretty consistently above 1% at a minimum. So I think that turning it to 2000 actually did increase the returns for the pool, which is good. But of course, it's a little bit hard to tell because there's also just been a lot of volatility recent market, which has resulted in a lot of trading activity on Curve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I like the way you modeled it out. So we see here basically the analyzed return values, and you see the different A values that you took, and then the return that we as LP, well, people as LP providers would get. And you also released a open version of it on GitHub, where people can just run it themselves and basically reevaluate your research parameters, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Cool. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So be sure to check out that on GitHub or the Curve pool, the Curve forum as well. You actually already explained, right? Like the unexpected behavior was actually when you lower the fees that you would get more inflow, right? That was a little bit.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like you can kind of see how a trader, especially an arbitrager, is gonna, if they can get lower fees, they're going to be incentivized to make larger trades. So you're going to get more volume. But you have to estimate, is the extra money you're going to make off the extra volume, is it going to be enough to counteract the decrease in the fee? And it looks like, at least for in this case, that decreasing the fee just slightly, it could return a little bit more. So I think it's worth experimenting on, because in this simulation we didn't incorporate the gas fees, so maybe gas fees could offset this. We did try to do some kind of simulation where we had reasonable effects of gas, how gas fees would influence people's trading behavior, and the results actually came out pretty much exactly the same, because the arbitrage trades were so large relative to gas fees that the gas fees were basically negligible. So it may be the case that even on Ethereum blockchain with the higher gas fees, that you would get enough volume if you decrease the fee. It's funny, personally, I thought it's not worth risking to try it, but Michael thought, he's very data driven, so I also thought that 2000 was too risky of an A parameter. I thought maybe we should ease into it, but Michael and the other people, Curve we were talking to, they said, no, let's go straight to 2000, and also let's try the lower fee. So they're very data driven, which is cool.
Yeah, and then they just tried it basically on Polygon as a testing ground, and then move it over potentially to the ETH pools as well in the future as well. Cool. So besides the tree pool, the tree curve pool, did you also look into the SETH or other pools or yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So on these, if you look on the Gov page, the Curve governance page that we're looking at here, we included also some simulations with the BUSD pool. That's the Binance USD, and also for the ETH versus synthetics ETH, that SETH pool. And if you look at the Binance pool, the results are very similar to the three pool. So it's pretty similar. With SETH, we kind of there's an interesting fact, which is that SETH has been trading above ETH for pretty consistently for a while.
Yeah.
And that's basically because I think there's just not enough of it out there in the market. So there's actually a little bit of scarcity for it. And so people will sometimes pay a premium for it. And so that means that the result here is showing us that we should probably keep the A parameter very low for that pool for as long as that continues. I think synthetics is doing a lot of things which will improve the amount of all the synthetics products being out there throughout DeFi. So this condition will probably change. So I don't put that much weight into this result yet. I think we have to wait and see what happens with synthetics. And they're creating some new products which I think will help synthetic SETH to better track the price of ETH. And so here we just have three pools, but we're going to do every pool, put it up on our webpage, and then it's going to auto update nightly. That's something Karthik is working on right now.
Oh wow, that's really amazing. I didn't know that actually. That's really cool news. That will give so much more insights for building structured products or building products around Curve as well. It's interesting to it's quite hard in DeFi when you're building products to know for sure, okay, what kind of effects will have this long term, because there's not that much backtesting data or data available to even know, okay, I'm providing liquidity to an SETH pool or to tree curve pool, and now I get like 20% returns or like 2% return and some emission of the token, but how will this look long term? So this will really help a lot with that. And is the data also saved on a like block by block basis, or where do you store the data for this?
So
go ahead, Karthik.
So the results you mean, right?
Yes.
Whatever. Yeah. So we right now what we are working on is doing a nightly run of each of the pools, and probably add like a ton of pools and host it on our website as the nightly updates to the plots, where you have drop down menu options where you can choose which pool and what fee. You adjust the combinations and you get the results updated on the web page. So you can ideally just see the results on the web page, and all of the results are updated nightly.
That's super cool. And can I query the historical data then as well?
We don't have it set up that way yet, but we could set that up. Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's very valuable, especially like doing, when you start, of course, it's I think I think actually that can turn into quite some valuable data for you, also for your own firm, that if you save the data right now, maybe just make it hopefully make it free for the beginning, and then later I think it can be also a incentive for yourself. And I think people that want to use this kind of research that you guys built would be happy to pay some fees for that to get the historical data, or and the insights. I think this can turn into I mean, the whole Curve DAO, I see it more as it's infrastructure for building yielding products around it. And you see Convex doing amazing work with their fully boosted yield, and this research will also really help to see, like, okay, what parameters should we how should this be adjusted, and maybe later if you create a pool, or if we add pools to the Curve, you have the 3 Curve pools which we can deploy. It's just open source. You can deploy it yourself. You need to add liquidity, and that needs to be added by the DAO vote. But maybe then people can vote also on the, like how much fee do they want to collect, and I think that's probably also a very interesting step that we can take this. So that's it's very, very cool. So how did you? How did the community make use of it so far? You released it, and of course, it's quite complex matter. Like also, for myself, it's not something it's not something for a Sunday evening. You really need to sit down. Of course, it's a lot of work, a lot of research, right? So how does the community absorb this information so far?
Well, yeah. So I think we could probably improve in messaging to get. I'd like it so that every user of Curve can understand this. So I think probably what I wrote there for the government was maybe a little bit too micro level. So maybe a high level summary would work. But so far it's been used to adjust the 3 pool amplitude parameter, and it looks like that's been pretty successful. It was at 600 before, and now it's up to 2,000. And the returns have increased. I don't know how much is attributable to, like I said, increased volume due to volatility versus changing the A parameter. But and also, so we've seen price stability has improved there. And fortunately, over the last market shock over the last week or so, the pool didn't blow up.
No.
The balance of coins in there still looks good and healthy, and so I think that seems like a success so far for that pool. So that's good. And but of course we're going to try and do that for all the other pools. And maybe it's do you think maybe it's valuable we could just go through what each metric is here that we put on the governance page, and then maybe that'll help people to understand.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go over it like a little bit step by step. I will also put this timestamp here, like like we just did. Actually, we started with quite a deep dive. Now let's just do like step by step, right? And
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, these I would say, okay, figure 1 here is supposed to be just like, it's just a summary of the results. So those are summaries based off the more detailed stuff that's down in figure. I think that most people, you don't need to look at figure 2. You mostly just need to look at figure 1. Figure 2 is more like if you want to dig in deep and see, sometimes a summary metric doesn't capture the whole thing, So I thought some people might dig in and look at the details, but in most cases, people will just want to look at this plot, I think. So on the upper left, you have something simple. It's just annualized returns. So that's going to be similar to APY, and it's an estimate of, under the assumption that people are just doing this optimal arbitrage trading, how much money is the pool going to make as a percentage. This data is a little bit old. That number is definitely higher now, but that's going to be one thing you want to look at. I think people can understand that intuitively. Okay,
yeah,
so next,
if you said 0.4% is the fee rate right now, right? That's actually the standard, or it's like 0. Maybe explain the amplitude and the annualized return a little bit more.
Okay, sure, yeah. So the amplitude is just the A parameter discussing before, which basically adjusts how much capital you have allocated near the 1-to-1 trading ratio. And so we essentially sampled just a number of different amplitudes and ran the simulation. So literally we just took the 2 months of price data, run the optimal arbitrage code against a pool that has, A parameter 5, then we do another simulation, A parameter 64, and we just step through all these A parameters and then record the results, right? So what you have plotted here on the left is basically going to be your APY. So if we take the results from those 2 months and annualize, what are the results going to, how much money is it going to be estimated to make? So you can see like these numbers are somewhat low. They're definitely lower than what you see in real life or in the real pool, but that's because this is only incorporating these optimal arbitrage trades. It's not including anyone who's just for the hell of it, So this is almost like a minimum returns. And you can also imagine there's going to be additional advantages of, as you increase that amplitude parameter, the price becomes more stable. So people who are doing non-arbitrage trades are probably going to be also more likely to trade against it just because they can get a more stable price.
Okay.
So this is just, as you turn up the volume on the A amplitude, how much more money do you make, basically?
Yeah, and basically the amplitude value is just it's a test scenario, right? So normally the returns would be higher, but because maybe we're assuming here like more like normal behavior, I guess. And in crypto, or you have like supply shocks and flash loans and all that stuff, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when you look at this. Yeah, essentially you can see it peaks around 2000. And actually, if you look at the data, we'll get this up on the website soon. If you look at more recent data, where we've had recent more volatility, you'll see that as you go above 2000, this value, the returns start to decrease. So it's very clear where an optimum value is. You just find the peak of the top of that curve,
Yeah. Right here, right? At the green. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and you can see that like the values above that, when you get up to 3000 and 4000, they go down a little bit. But now that we have more volatility, actually those go down even more. So it's kind of even confirmation that around the 1000 range is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And then the cost of slippage. What do you? So it's basically the, but that's also income for the LP providers, right? Or how do I need to see that?
Yeah, so I realized that I've changed it now for our new plots. When you see it on the website, really what I think most people would call that is depth. That's the depth of the pool. So basically, this tells you, okay, if someone how much does it cost to shift the price by 0.05%, basically? So how big of a trade would you have to do to shift the price by that small amount, 0.05%? And then the units we use here is the percentage of the total pool. So a pool has in it, I think, 1.3 billion right now. So if you get up here to 10%, so for example, if you look at the amplitude, look in the upper right corner where we have amplitude is 4000. Once you get the amplitude up to 4000, the cost to shift the pool by 0.05%, you have to trade 10% of the pool. So that's millions and millions of dollars. So yes. This is intuitive that as you increase the A parameter, the depth should increase. So this number going up is good. It essentially just means that the price has become more stable. So you can see there we plotted two things: the dark line and the dotted line. The dark line is the median over time. So if you take the whole 2-month period and we calculate a value for this every minute and take the median of it, that's going to give you the dark line. And then the dotted line is if you take the minimum across the whole 2-month period.
Yeah.
So essentially, I think they're both informative. You can almost think of those as like a range of what the depth is going to be. They'll kind of be typically maybe between those two lines, kind of. And so, I mean, you can kind of see, at least from this, there's not, basically as you increase A, the depth increases as expected. It's possible that the depth would decrease if you put A way too high, but at least in this case, we don't see that.
Interesting. And the pool balance is basically well, does the balance decrease? I don't get that fully, actually. So the pool balance.
This is a balance in terms of like how balanced are the holdings in terms of what proportion of each type of pools you have.
Yeah.
Not balance in terms of like balance in your bank account. It's balance in terms of like how balanced are the holdings. Like,
yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So for 3 pool, we've scaled this for all pools, so it'll be if it's at 1.0, that's perfect balance. So for 3 pool, that'd be 1/3 each coin, right? and 0 is if all of the coins are in one coin type. So if it was 100% USDC, 0% USDT, 0% DAI, then this metric would be 0. But when they're equally split, this metric is 1. So you can see also, as we were kind of discussing before, that as you increase A, it increases the balance of coins. But you can see here that it's not enough to be scared of. I think as you increase the A, like it's not ruining the balance that much. And that's because for 3 pools, just so much capital in there. It takes a lot of money to make it imbalanced.
Interesting. And some tree curve is quite balanced, right? But if we look at this is tree curve. But if we then look at you see like this is Binance, Binance coin, BUSD. Yeah, right. Here it's a completely different. It's very okay. So here we can even raise it to like the optimum value is even above 2,000.
You could go even higher. Yeah.
And the balance, but it's very imbalanced. It seemed, and that's what I see a lot of at different curve pools as well, where sometimes this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at the SE pool, you can see like the balance will decrease quite a lot as you get the you increase the A parameter, and that's I mean, you can see that in the pool right now. Like it actually less so right now, but before, maybe even a month ago, it was mostly ETH in there, very little SE, just because the ETH was cheaper relative to SE. So as you increase the A parameter, that effect would be exacerbated, basically.
Interesting. Doesn't that scare you? Like for me, sometimes sometimes there's like 80% or 70%, like we saw with Terra USD. The price stayed stable, and actually the pool made quite a good profit when the balance went back to $1, right? But when it went below or went above, also a little bit. It is like if there is a if there is a USDT or a DAI or a USDC failure, that would be an interesting. Then that would be a very bad event to occur, even if it goes off to even if USDC drops to 80 cents, right? Let's say they cannot mint, or that it goes to $1.20, 30 cents. Then you will get some impermanent loss. But then if it moves back, you actually make a profit with that.
Yeah, that's totally right. Yeah, I mean, definitely pool imbalance does. I don't like it. I think you want to minimize it to the extent you can, and that's just a little bit. That's the risk reward there, the trade off between you pump up that A value, you're generally going to get higher returns, but you're more at risk of, if there is an event like that, you're betting against that happening. So I think when you read these plots, it's not just the raw numbers that matter. You have to think about in your head, what's the risk of depeg for this coin and things like that.
Yeah. So, and if we look at the other metric, like the relative volatility and the median price error, so that means that if it gets more volatile, it gets more volatile if you decrease or increase the A value. And the what do you mean with price error?
So the price error is just the difference between the market price and the pool price. So as we're doing the simulation, like I said, the optimal arbitrager is always going to be trying to drive the pool price to the external market price. This metric, I think, is perhaps less valuable in most cases to look at. It's a little just to make sure that it's working, that the simulation is working. So you can see the price error tends to be on the order of 0.1 cents. So I think that's fine. But there could be a case if this is like an emergency metric. If this value goes above 5 cents or something, for example, that means there's just not enough liquidity throughout the system to arbitrage the price back. So in general, metric is not going to matter that much. But if you do see that going up above a few cents, that's actually really bad. You know, that means the pool has depegged.
Yeah. And yeah, that's interesting. Do you see any future? I think your research will probably work towards a potential where we see capital insurance, like capital loss insurance of curve pools in the real world. Let's say Lloyd's at one day would underpin a pool with USDC and DAI, for example, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that'd be great. I mean, there's some products already, right, that are offering that in DeFi, and I mean, we don't personally use them. The only one, I mean, they're priced very fairly, I'd say, but
Yeah.
I'm not that concerned of DPEG, except for in the case of perhaps USDN or the Terra we were just talking about.
Yeah, or Tether maybe, but I think Tether, I don't know. That's a really big discussion for another time, I think.
Yeah, if you want about that, just go on the Curve Telegram and you can start fudding on there, and I'm sure you'll get plenty of opinions.
Nice. Yeah, so it's really interesting. So one other question: when I look at the tree pool, there is a version of tree pool which you can basically deploy yourself, right? And basically, the version you deploy yourself is then listed on Curve. But what is the parameters that? What is the minimum volume that a pool needs to get before it gets listed, or that's up to the DAO? Or what is the minimum volume a pool needs to have to make economical sense, basically?
I think. Oh, did we lose him? Maybe.
I'm still here. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. So you can deploy it. There's no restrictions on deploying it. So anyone could deploy anything, regardless of the volume coin. To get it on the Curve front page, and I think also to make it eligible to receive CRV token rewards, there's some threshold for that, but I'm not sure. You have to ask the other people at Curve. I forget. They had set some number. I think it's in the documents. I think that for it to make economic sense, you have to have at least some users using the coin. I'm not sure what the exact number is, and also there's going to be some risk there of like, you may not know how much volume it'll have once you put it on Curve. I think so.
Yeah.
For example, I think that the Alchemix USD had some volume, but once it got put on Curve, it actually had quite a lot of volume. So it could make sense for you to, if your project has some traction and if your product involves a stable coin, definitely launch it on Curve instead of on, Uniswap or something else. Maybe Uniswap V3 would make sense, I guess. But
yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah. Meanwhile, the lights got turned off here. I'm in a co-working space, so they're trying to throw me out here, but it's okay. Yeah. So like, I would like to follow you guys. So like, where can you said you're going to publish this? This will be on your website.
Yeah.
And where can people follow you guys if they want to learn more about your amazing background and your research?
I've got a Twitter account. It's just not Naga King, that one right there. You can see it as my name, but with two G's at Naga King. And you'll get a nice mix of mathy posts and just utter shit posting there.
Nice.
Karthik?
I have a Twitter, but then it's not too active. But you can We are going to revamp the website in a couple of days to actually make the results available for everyone to follow, and to also make it like accessible for a nightly update and stuff. So I think that should be the best place to follow.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll post them to that. We'll put it in the governance forum, and so then you'll be able to put there. And we're also both on the Curve Discords and Curve Telegram. Mine is same username.
Perfect. I will link to all the amazing links in the description below. Yeah, I have to run here. And you guys, thank you very much for your amazing research. And I think together with as a collective intelligence with brain neuroscience scientists, we can solve this problem, and we can make DeFi a more mature space, and maybe one day make an even more efficient FX market. So let's see. I'm super excited, guys, and yeah, let's do this again. We will definitely check in some time when the research is live. I would definitely like to follow up once you have more research done, and then let's check in from time to time. And thank you very much. And I see everybody that's listening and watching in the forum and on the Curve governance forum or on Twitter or Discords. Let's discuss more, and let's discuss the implementations of this research and how we can use it maybe to structure products, to maybe make real world insurance products with Curve DAO. So that would be amazing. Thanks, guys, and see you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.